So crafties, imagine the scene. I'm walking down Broadway toward 9th Avenue. It's colder than my wedding night. I need something to create a heat differential. So I step into the speakeasy. It's called Hal's or something, aptly named because nobody makes it out alive. So anyway, I walk down the stairs and I come around the corner. Lady crooning on the phonograph. And then I see him leaning against the bar. Taller than King Kong and twice as good looking. He's wearing this hat that's larger than Montana with the same number of votes in the Electoral College. I walk up to the guy and says, I ain't never seen you in these parts before, but I know you're the guy I'm here to see. And he says to me, that's where you come in, CGB.
What? What? Wait, huh?
Well, welcome to New Capenna, CovertGoBlue. I was just painting the scene, man. We got a little 20s prohibition going on here up in the magic world.
Scene painted, I guess. What the hell is going on here? I don't even. Is this the Arena Craft podcast? The only podcast that focuses on MTG Arena?
We have arrived there as well. Yes. So I'm one of your hosts, Arjuna. This is CovertGoBlue.
Hi. I don't get, as we will get into on this show, I don't get gangsta movies. I don't get gangsta shows. I don't get nothing. I ain't got the accent. I ain't got the terminology. I don't care about the 20s. Never happened as far as I'm concerned. It was the 20s. Was it supposed to be the 20s? I don't even know what decade I'm theoretically not in.
Well, it's a good thing it's theoretical then, man.
The only 20s I understand is the 2020s.
It's a new century, Crafty and CGB is up in it.
I'm Zoomer. I don't get any of this, but we'll flush it out. It's fine.
So by the way, welcome back to the show, CGB. I heard that you're in California. I also happened to see you eat sushi for the first time.
I've been in classic internet fashion told that was sushimi or something.
Oh, okay. So
because there's no rice. Makes it a different product somehow. Because that makes sense. Why would...
No. Look, you take sashimi, you put it on top of rice, and now you've got nigiri.
I don't know what that is either.
It's totally different, bro.
Okay, fine.
Get with the program.
Yeah.
So how was it, though? How was the raw fish sliding down the gullet?
I've been conditioned, like the Ninja Turtles conditioned me, man, that pizza good, sushi bad.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, that's just for Master Splinter over there.
Yep, that's just for rats. Only, I mean, that might play into your whole gangsta theme, but yeah, it was fine. It wasn't bad. The rice was actually really good when I did finally receive fish and rice together. It was actually very good. So yeah, it was, and it was a pretty good place. I guess I don't know if famous is the right word. It was a place called Sugarfish in Beverly Hills. So fancy. Ooh, right. Pantsy, swanky. Thank you, Zan Saeed, for taking me and treating me to sushi at Sugarfish in Beverly Hills. And I don't know.
All right.
I felt like everything there just smelled a little better. You know?
You mean in Beverly Hills in general?
Including myself, yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure my own I'm pretty sure my own odor improved just by association.
Are you sure it wasn't just the smog, CovertGoBlue?
I wouldn't understand.
I mean, could you see the sky? That's my question.
I could see the sky occasionally. Actually, the sky in California is incredibly clear compared to that blue. All over, the great north where I'm from, where it feels like we don't see the sky for, about 6 months. It's like all dark all the time, snow, dreary. Yeah. I felt like I saw a lot of sky. Can you tell? Do I look tan?
You do have just a little bronzing. Yeah, a little bronzing.
The audio only folks are missing out.
maybe a gentle frosting of the tips, perhaps. Getting in that California sunshine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, dude, yeah, Southern California is a good time, man. I've always enjoyed my times in LA and San Diego and whatnot. So I'm glad you got to, get out of your usual environs and have some fun, man. Sounds great.
It was really great. Thanks for asking about it. And you were supposed to take a trip, and we were going to take trips together.
All right. So this is what happened, right? I was supposed to go to Dubai, okay? And literally the morning I'm flying out, I start feeling, not so good, right? And by the time I'm done with my first flight, I flew from Portland to San Francisco. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely off. So I actually take a COVID test at the airport. And what do you know? I caught the Rona. So the plague I finally succumbed to the plague. It's really surreal too, because literally like 5 minutes after I got my test results back, I get this phone call from just like some random Californian number. And I'm like, I'm probably supposed to pick this up. So I answer it, and it's like the CDC. And, they're like, no, Mr. Perkins, and you just tested positive for COVID. And like, there's a whole thing that you have to do. Basically, I wasn't allowed to fly home. I had to get a rental car.
You took a test, and then the CDC like got you on the phone.
Oh, they called me up. Yeah. And then, they were like, if you don't comply with these certain things in this time frame, we're going to put you on the like no travel list. And then like, I don't know, presumably there'd be some like, what's that movie, Minority Report? There'd be like some Minority Report style, like police intervention or whatever.
It's bizarrely serious business. Yeah. Okay. They just locked you down. They're watching you, man.
Yeah, dude. They're
your
on
name.
To me.
They know all about you trying to go to Dubai.
They know all about like, what the inside of my nostril looks like, apparently. So anyway, but the good news, it was a mild case. So basically I didn't go to Dubai. I hunkered down for a week, and I feel pretty good.
That doesn't sound like a bad idea. I was wondering, I was getting on the plane when I found out about Ukraine being invaded. And it's like, normally I can, not be that terrified at crazy world events, because even if stuff happened, I'd be in the middle of nowhere in my cabin in the woods, and I feel for other people, but I'm not like actively in fear most of the time. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh, I'm flying to the most popular city potentially in the world. Pretty big target on it if somebody wanted to make a statement.
Seriously. San Diego is like one of the biggest military bases in the country. So yeah, if a nuke drops there, you're not happy. For sure.
No, yeah. So it was a pretty scary, there was a backdrop to the week in LA. Also, my editors for my daily videos are from Ukraine. And every day was like, they could take their time off. Like some people got after me for this because they're like, you should give them time off. They're at war. And I'm like, they're not my employees. They want to keep working. They said they need the money. And I had already uploaded all the content anyway. So it's like, I would understand if they missed a day. But every day I'm like hitting refresh for evidence of life, because I don't think I'd know what happened to them if they just dropped off the map. So every time a video uploaded, I was like, they're still out there. It's it was weird.
Oh my gosh. I know. Yeah. I can't imagine. Yeah. I saw a post from Rint, a friend who's actually living in Russia. Actually, I don't know where he is in the world at the moment, but he's from Russia. And the post was basically being like, I'm not allowed to say what I want to say, but what I want to say about the situation. Mm. And so, yeah, man, it's pretty intense. My heart goes out to Ukraine. It's shit's getting real there, basically. Mm-hmm. And, we have lived a relatively sheltered life over here in the United States, and stuff goes down in other parts of the world, and it's going down right now. So, to all of our Ukrainian crafties, my love to you, my support to you. I hope you're doing all right.
It's tough, right? Because there's nothing we can say that's going to do much about it.
Exactly.
To be honest, just know that we're not ignoring the situation. We do care, but we're also the Arena Craft podcast. So usually the best way we can serve our audience is to provide some escape, which we're probably about to do by talking about new cards, but it doesn't mean we are oblivious to the situation or that we don't care.
Totally. Yep. No, exactly. Yeah. We tend to keep it pretty on topic on the podcast, but I mean, you know, we're thinking about this stuff just like y'all are. And yeah, it's an interesting time to be alive. So with that said, yes, let's talk about the happy place, which is Magic. And what would you know? Well, like 2 weeks into a new format, which is just a perfect time for them to start previewing the next set. Someone at Wizards just figured out that this was a really good idea. So here we are. So we had like our first sneak preview of new Capenna. And I got to tell you, I mean, a lot of people are really stoked about this set. Personally, I really enjoy the aesthetic. I love Art Deco. I love the 20s. I got all fancied up for this show because I just wanted to look a little bit more in the setting, as it were.
All right, help drag me in because I am mega cynical on this. I have never been that into the gangsta movies. I don't know what an Art Deco means. So, like, you could educate me and fools like me, or like help drag me into the hype a little bit.
All right. So like, I don't know. Have you ever been into like detective movies or novels?
You're talking like film noir?
Yeah. Like Dick Tracy, all that kind of stuff.
I think I liked Dick Tracy when I was 8, maybe 9.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly how old I was, but I thought The Blank was the creepiest thing I'd ever seen.
The Blank?
Yeah. And Dick Tracy in the movie, there was the character, The Blank, who, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it in like 30 some years, I think turns out to be Madonna.
Okay. Yeah. All right. There you go. Yeah, it's been too long. It's been too long. Okay. Can I interest you in Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah. Because because of a certain animated character, a certain animated woman had certain, Jessica Rabbit,
probably the hottest cartoon in the world at the time. Yes, I do.
Jessica Rabbit versus Lola Bunny, which says a lot about animated mammals.
Indeed it does. And animated memories. Okay. So, you know, now you're kind of starting to get the feel, right? Like it was a cool setting.
Okay. Yeah. There's kind of that caper thing. Why is it so romanticized? Like, why is it kind of sticky? Is it like steampunk and just a different aesthetic that's been kind of lost by our world? Is that what?
Yeah. I mean, it was like modernism at a time when modernism was like super exciting. You know what I mean? It was kind of like, if you think about how like, you know, like automobiles were just becoming kind of mainstream, and like, you know, we had these like beautiful futuristic trains and like they were building skyscrapers and stuff. And it was just kind of like, it was the first time that like, it was like modern urbanization was happening. And there was just like a lot of cool stuff happening, basically, you know, post-war, right? There was a lot of stuff going on post-World War I. People were flying in airplanes, which is a thing you couldn't really have done before. And so like the whole world, I think, was just thinking in a very futuristic way. And it's kind of interesting because when you look at aesthetics today, when people want to talk about futurism and stuff, they still often look back to that time for reference material. So a perfect example, we were talking about Minority Report, and you'll notice like all over that film, there are like these kind of like subtle references. Like, for example, that super sexy futuristic car that whatever, you know, the main character ends up driving at one point. And like, that's like a throwback to like some old 30s car or whatever. And so anyway, so Art Deco in particular is really, really cool. It's like, it was an architecture style, but it was really just like a whole aesthetic style, right? Like you had like fonts, you had clothes, you had like interior design, you had exterior design. And it's a really cool style. I recommend Crafties if you don't know about it to read up on it. I'm not like an expert or anything, but they were pulling in all of these cool stuff. There was like a bunch of Egyptian stuff, like kind of old ancient Egyptian styles that were being pulled in to Art Deco. I just think it's beautiful. Everything about it is compelling and beautiful to me. So yeah, I think the setting's really exciting. And I think like less Goodfellas, more Dick Tracy. I think that's what we're going for. We're talking more about like, what was that famous novel? Why can't I remember the name of it now?
It's a famous novel.
The F. Scott Fitzgerald novel.
The Great Gatsby.
The Great Gatsby. That's what we're talking about, man. It's basically like Magic meets The Great Gatsby.
Okay. Roaring 20s. Let's go.
That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Not feeling it? I guess
we'll see. I need to be sold on the Magic cards because I have all kinds of nitpicks so far with what they've even shown me. I might have to be drag kicking and screaming, and part of it's because I'm coming from something that was so right up my alley, which is Magic going anime, that it's going to be hard for. I think this is going to be a challenge for me.
Fair enough. I mean, that's true. You literally had like the Venn diagram of Magic, the 80s, and anime, which is your entire brand, basically. So yeah, we could see that.
I think I'm under the surface responsible for Neon Dynasty completely. I think they were just watching my stream like he's onto something. He's onto something.
It's like you and the Asian Avenger like made that happen.
I'd share credit, but that's off brand.
So anyway, well, I'm super stoked, and I know a lot of other people are too. I mean, it's like two aesthetic bangers in a row. We have this like futuristic Neo Tokyo thing going on, and then we have this kind of like looking back to the Roaring '20s thing. It's a good time aesthetically for Magic. So I'm glad that they're leaning into it. So let's talk about the cards that were spoiled. Do you want to go with the lands or the only other card first? What do you want to talk about?
Well, we have basic lands, we have non-basic lands, and we have a card to talk about. And as you can tell, we are still going to have no problem filling up at least an hour of your time because
absolutely.
We're 18 minutes in without talking about the cards yet. But
easy.
Let's go to basic land art appreciation moments. Let's start there. I think that's a good idea.
It is gorgeous. Which out of these new lands is the most gripping to you, CGB? So
I'm gonna go straight to the complaint equity section.
Oh, okay, all right. Did you just like? Are you still jet lagged or something?
No,
well, I feel like we get irascible CGB today.
No, this is fine. No. I mean, let's be real. When who actually ever complains about Magic? It's fine.
That's true. Yeah, nothing more off-brand than that, right?
All right, let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing. So, the lands are. There's a lot of like in the city kind of thing, and like the forest is all very much takes place in the city, kind of like a welcome to the urban jungle type of thing. And I can get into that, but it is kind of weird. That's right after Neon Dynasty, where a forest was literally one tree in the middle of a city. So like we kind of 2-for-1 that one. But my problem is explain to me where the plains is in the plains. Because Bottle Brush put it on the screen. I see a tower and zeppelins, and I see a train station. The artist just got the wrong memo. They said trains, not planes, and here we are. Where's the planes, dude?
There's no grass in New Capenna. I mean, why not? Like, this isn't Nebraska, okay? I mean, we've got, look, trains, they kind of give you some sense of, the vast expanse of the openness, right?
Right.
I don't know, man. There's plenty of white in the art. What do you want from me?
It's not that it's not pretty. It's that there's no planes in the plains. And I've been singing since, kindergarten or whatever, the fruited plains, America, America. And I don't know, man. I'm not seeing my plains. Where's my Iowa landscapes?
Can I interest you in these amazing mountains? I mean, like, if ever there was a cool interpretation of a mountain, look at these freaking red Art Deco skyscrapers, aren't they? Are they not just incredible? I think this is the coolest thing ever. This skyscraper, like red skyscraper, minimalist Art Deco mountain might be like one of the coolest arts I've ever seen in my life.
If there is anybody on this planet who couldn't be less impressive, who couldn't be, less into a mountain, it's gotta be me.
And, you were dissing on the forests, but I think these forests are actually really cool as well.
They're fine.
Yeah. Oh man, this is, clearly not your aesthetic and clearly is mine. I think everything about this is just gorgeous and amazing. The swamps leave a little bit to be desired for me.
Oh, I like a swamp, actually.
Nah, I'm kind of not feeling it.
The flooded basement swamp? You're not into it?
The flooded basement one's good. The other one that just looks like some storm drain in the middle of the city or whatever.
Ew, gross. It's dirty.
I could feel it more, to tell you the truth. But I mean, you gotta love this like island with this, whatever this is, like waterfall art. I mean, that's sweet.
Yeah. Surprise, the islands are good.
So, all right. I think we squeezed about as much content as we possibly could out of the basic lands. Let's talk about what's actually going to be the most important cards printed in this set. And this is the Triomes. The Triomes return, crafties.
No, they're not Triomes.
Okay.
Lands.
Okay. All right. My bad.
I'm sick of people going around being like, it's a triome. Nobody cares what an iome is. Or okay.
A diome? We get diomes every set.
No, forget that crap. I don't want to talk about triomes. These are tri-lands. They specifically said tri-lands.
Yeah, because they didn't want to name them triomes for some reason.
Yep, they're not called triomes. Yeah, that was an Ikoria thing. This is not Ikoria.
All right. Well, I'll give you about 2 days into the release before you start calling them triomes. So
probably.
Well, so we'll see what happens. But so this time we have the allied colors. So let's go through them. We have Esper, which is blue, black, and white. We have Naya, which is red, green, and white. We have Bant, which is green, white, and blue. We have Grixis, which is red, black, and blue. And then finally, we have Jund, black, red, and green. So Wizards keeps trying to rebrand these three color pairs into different names, and no one's having it. So basically...
Dude, this is clearly Jetmir's Garden, not Naya Triome.
Yeah, Clan Jetmir, bro.
No, they have names.
I'm going to get a Jetmir tattoo.
Okay, they do have names. But okay, tell me what's better, Esper or Obscura?
Obscura. I forgot that the moment I read it. I mean, it's already out of my brain.
Would you prefer Grixis or Maestros? Maestros.
I'm over it, dude. I can barely remember those old ones.
We're bringing the information to the people, so we're going to continue this.
What were they? Was it from Khans that these names came from?
Oh, these are from Alara.
Alara. Okay, that's
Khans what is the shards. Alara is the no.
The wedges.
No, I think it's the opposite.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
Boomer talk.
Riveteers, huh? Is that not Jund? Is that not Jund?
Rosie the Riveteer.
Oh my God, I guess so. Okay. Tell me, what colors come to mind where I say Gabaretti? Huh?
Pizza?
Yeah.
Italy?
So what colors would be pizza? If pizza were colors, I actually think this works.
Okay. Red, green, and white?
Yeah, it's Naya. Cavalry.
All right. You know what's funny? I actually wasn't even looking at the cards, so nailed it.
But do you remember who this is the part where I think we just cross into pure lame. Brokers.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's got to be Espa, right?
Nobody brokers than you. No, it's Bant.
Oh, it's Bant? Oh, yeah,
Bant.
I guess that's true.
Nobody brokers than you are right now.
Okay, but check it out. I mean, as this podcast's eminent control mage, are you not just completely stoked to have not only an Espa triome, but also a Bant triome? I mean, come on. Like,
you know what's
how
weird about
exciting
me?
is that?
You know what's weird about me? I'm going to be honest. I don't like 3 colors.
No?
No, I'm always trying to make it work with 2. Always. Like, I avoid branching into that 3rd color really hard. And you just are a 3-color person, or you're not, but I do have evidence, internet, undisputable evidence that 2 colors are more popular, that there are more 2-color people than 3-color people. And that is,
of course.
I can usually expect about 10K less views on a 3-color video than a 2-color one.
You know why?
Why?
People don't want to spend the wild cards, dude. They're over it. It's a purely economic thing, man.
Really?
They also just don't,
There's nothing else to it?
You need to add an additional lobe to your brain for each color that you play, you know? I mean, come on. There's a reason why mono white's the most popular deck ever, right? I'm just saying.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. You're right about these things, actually, I'm sure. It has a lot to do with it. These lands, though, these not triome lands, like they're not called like Broker's Triome, you know, they're not called Cabaretti Lounge. They've got names on them instead, which is kind of weird. Yeah. So like, I know. You can start with the Naya one here. It's Jetmir's Garden. Mm-hmm. Jetmir's Garden. Mm-hmm. Who's Jetmir?
I don't know, dude.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. It's a mystery.
It's probably a Johnny. It's probably like freaking a Johnny in New Capenna speak.
So what I've heard is, and maybe they revealed this somewhere, I've only heard it from Twitch chat, so most reliable content on the internet, that every single one of these families is run by a demon, which doesn't make any sense to me that a Bant family would be run by a demon at all. Yeah,
do they even make demons in those colors? I don't know.
Without black or red? What even is life? Right. Yeah, so, but in theory, there's like a demon lord to all of this, to each of these families and of these crime families, and that who this might be named after. So like the Naya one is Jetmir's Garden. Esper is Raffine's Tower. So yeah, all up in the ivory tower looking down on people. That's Esper.
That makes sense.
Spara's headquarters is like this weird looking thing with a whole bunch of safety hazards because it looks like there's just holes in the floor all over the place. And this is Bant. So yeah, I can't get Bant lawyers having this many safety hazards in their office. Have you ever met a lawyer?
No, I was just going to say, though, isn't that kind of Magic's signature is like no guardrails anywhere?
Kind of. Yeah.
Watch out. Wasn't that like a joke in Ravnica?
Probably a good one.
Affectionate. I think it's like the flavor text on Affectionate Indrik reads like something about like Ravnica's lack of guardrails. Anyway, how about Xander's Lounge, man? Do you want to sip a whiskey up in Xander's Lounge?
Magic the Gathering, and we have a nightclub as a setting. You get 3 colors of mana out of this nightclub? Okay. Dude. Whatever it takes, man. Whatever it takes. That's a beautiful Grixis land.
Nightclubs are well staffed. You know, you've got the dancers, you've got the servers, I don't know.
Sounds pretty nice to me. I mean, I go to a Grixis nightclub. Like that sounds.
Hell yeah! Drink one of those patented CGB fruity drinks.
Well, I don't know what kind of drinks do you think they serve at a Grixis nightclub.
It's straight bourbon, dude. Straight bourbon.
Probably something intense. But
bourbon
my favorite by far is, I don't know how to say the name, Ziatora's Proving Ground. Why,
dude? It's because it's UFC, because it's WWE. That's why.
There you go. Clearly a wrestling ring in the middle of it. In our Magic the Gathering lore, WWE secret lair when? It's just a matter of time now, baby.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So now this is what you need to do, CGB. You need to tell us who are the five characters, the 5 WWE legends that are going to be immortalized in the secret lair.
Oh, baby. God, that's actually kind of tough because we're talking about a lot of history and you need to appeal to so many people and it needs to you want to hit the different colors. So like the Undertaker's automatic, right? That's like a black.
Of course, black.
Yeah. You have to have that in there.
Okay.
I don't see how you go without Hulk Hogan.
Would he be white?
White and red, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a little Boros action there.
That's what I'm thinking.
I don't see how you do it without him. And then like Bret the Hitman Hart would probably be Rakdos, although like purple's kind of hard. Maybe Demir. I don't know, man.
I feel it.
I mean, you got to have Stone Cold and The Rock, right? And The Rock has to be green and black.
Has to be green.
Has to be green, black, 100%. Yeah. And Stone Cold could definitely be like black and white, I guess, are his main colors. But WWE would never do this with only legends. They'd have to have somebody current so that you'd have someone to tune in to see. Sure. And because they're actually better right now at making women's stars than men's stars, you might have to get like Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks would be an excellent one, or maybe you can have tag teams. So maybe you get multiple people into one card.
Oh, yeah. But little partner commander action. Right. Okay,
I tuned everybody out for the last 2 minutes. I probably ruined the Arena Craft audience. But hopefully Bottle Brush found some great images of Sasha Banks to entertain you and keep you engaged with the video, at least.
Dude, this is what Magic is these days, right? It's pure meme. So let's talk a little bit about what happens to a metagame CGB when we have 3 color lands? What do we have to start thinking about?
Honestly, one thing that you have to check is the power of the monocolored aggro decks so that you don't have time for a ton of tap lands. And the monocolored aggro decks are doing okay. So, that test is already passed. We're not going to have time to play tap land, tap land, tap land and expect to win a game. Yeah, it's not a guild gate meta. So that's part of it. But then the other part is there becomes a lot of situations where adding your 4th color isn't really a stretch for anything. And I'm thinking of the Dance of the Mance decks that just splash Binding as their only black card in Yorium piles and things like that. It was basically free. It wasn't hard to get it in there with Pathways and all the other lands that existed. And the Pathways were the last piece. These are going to produce... It's going to be interesting because every game you're going to want to go tapped Tri-land, untapped Pathway, then untapped Chill Land.
Yeah, that's the perfect curve right there.
And right there, that is potentially, you have options among 7 potential unique color combinations, right? Because the Pathway, the 2 for that, 3 for that. You can cast whatever you want. So it depends what people want to cast. Is it powerful enough to step outside your family? I imagine the families are going to be super supported, that you're going to need a lot of you're going to really want to live in these 3 colors for specific upgrades. I don't know if you're going to need to splash from another color on top of that. It depends on the quality of cards introduced for the families. If the families are better than everything else going in standard, you don't need another color for anything. If there's only a couple of mega playable cards in the family, then maybe suddenly your Grixis deck should have Vanishing Verse, and that's a totally doable thing. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. One of the things you have to look out for is, just like you were saying, the power level of the cards, right? I remember, I think it was Ravnica where they printed those CCDD cards that really incentivized you to be in a particular... what are they? The guild, I guess, a Ravnica guild.
You're thinking of,
right?
The one I'm thinking of is Kaya's Wrath. It's white, black, black to destroy all creatures. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there was also the Drake that still sees play in Historic. Crackling Drake that ended up being an evergreen card from that set. So, it kind of depends on whether we start seeing these 3 color, really compelling, overpowered cards. People are speculating we might see some more ultimatums. I guess ultimata is the plural of that.
I think that ultimatum is very gangsta. Like, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. You can accept this ultimatum right here. This ultimatum right here is very expensive, but it gives me a lot of power and make you very sad. I don't know
that's
if
what
that's
I'm saying, dude.
It's that or not.
It's that high risk, high reward gangster lifestyle, right?
I guess so.
So here's my question to you. Can we come up with what all of these ultimatums would be?
If you want to spitball it, I'd spitball it. I have no idea what the result would be.
All right, let's go. So John the ultimatum, I'm just going to throw it right out there. It's going to be deal 5 damage to any target, return a creature from your graveyard or a graveyard to the battlefield. And what's the green part of it? Creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain trample and haste until end of turn. There you go.
For like 7? These are 7 mana ultimatums?
Yeah, exactly.
Huh. Why would you need to get something back if you're effectively ending the game?
Well, that's it. You get it back from the graveyard, and then it gets haste and +2/+2 and trample.
Oh, it adds it to the battlefield. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a pretty game-ending move right there. Impressive.
John Ultimatum. All right. I'm tossing Grixis Ultimatum. Well, actually, we already have a Grixis Ultimatum, right?
Cruel Ultimatum. Actually, weren't all the ultimatums introduced back then? It's just Cruel Ultimatum was the playable one.
Yeah, so maybe we already have ultimatums in all of these colors, right?
We do, but they'll make new ones. It won't be called Cruel Ultimatum. It'll be called Xander's Ultimatum.
Xander's Contract.
Yeah.
Spara's Request.
Yeah. Stuff like that. No, I think you laid out a pretty good ultimatum. I honestly am not sure how I would design one. I would probably just rehash ones I've already done. So I don't have a lot to add, to be honest. I don't think I'd do a good job spitballing ultimatums.
Fired. All right. So let's see. Anything else that we need to talk about here? One thing that's kind of sexy, I'm just thinking about that artifact that lets you play cards that you discarded. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's the 2-mana artifact that they just printed.
Yeah, it's like a 2-mana 2/1, and whenever you discard a card, you may play it this turn. So you're thinking, I'm going to cycle Xander's Lounge and then play it?
Yeah, cycle a Triome, put it into play. Doesn't seem like the worst, huh?
Yeah, just that's your turn 3.
Just three mana draw card?
Actually, because you can't play it if you already hit your land drop, so...
There you go.
That's like a sad robot, basically, is what you just did.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
You built your own solemn simulacrum.
It'll be real solemn after you take that turn sequence. But these are the kind of things that you're going to be able to do. So that's really sweet. Triomes, basically, we're going to see a lot of 3 and 4 color nonsense. We'll probably see, some extreme content creators like Ali Eldrazi playing all of these random 5 color decks, and they're going to be really fun. I don't know.
Kami's War should probably get a chance, which is interesting. You were talking about, how about Restoration of Iganjo, which I think is just a better version of what you were just proposing, where you can discard a card to just ramp, get a permanent mana value 2 or less directly onto the battlefield. At least that would actually ramp you. That's kind of cool.
That's true. No, I agree. Yeah, any ramp that puts lands directly onto the battlefield is going to be really premium. So they're probably not going to give us a growth spiral, but something like that is going to be really good. I mean, it always felt really good if you went growth spiral Triome into Uro Triome, and you just felt like you were on top of the world at that point, right? Mm-hmm. So stuff like that. I mean, this card isn't very good, but Azusa's Many Journeys, just any card that actually lets you put more lands onto the battlefield, works really well with tap lands. And, these are really high value tap lands.
Do you remember when Binding the Old Gods would get you a Triome?
Oh, it was so beautiful. And it will again.
Yeah.
Because, we didn't mention this. These actually have the basic land types. They are not basic lands, but they have the types. So if something says fetch a swamp, but it doesn't say fetch a basic swamp, you'll be able to get, 2 or 3 of these? 3 of these. So just keep that in mind, crafties. Binding the Old Gods not getting any worse in this set.
Boseiju, who shelters all, is going to let your opponent fetch some of these babies.
That's true. So it's not really, and they thought about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want you to be able to blow up your opponent's triome and have them only get a basic. So you might actually be fixing your opponent if you do this. So
just watch out for that.
Keep an eye on that. But overall, these are very exciting. They're going to show up everywhere. They're going to be all over standard. They're going to be all over historic. You'll probably be able to pick them in cube. So anyway, pretty exciting overall.
How about the Broker's Ascendancy?
Oh, yeah.
They actually just out of nowhere gave us one of a cycle of cards as if to be like, here's something, enjoy this. It's going to be a month before we talk about this again.
I know, seriously. So let's read this card. Broker's Ascendancy. It is a Bant card. Green, white, blue mana for a rare enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each planeswalker you control. So all of the Orzhov players, like Orzhov tokens players, are currently drooling over this card and wondering how they can Shanghai it into their deck. But outside of that, what do you think about this card, CGB?
I'm not that impressed with this card. I've thought about it a bit, and the beginning of your end step, we kind of learned how less effective that is for +1/+1 counters from the Luminarch Gas Pirate in Alchemy. True. And it really was a pretty big nerf because on the end step, now that it's got to be there for a full turn cycle, the opponent can respond to it. You didn't get much out of the counter. And then the other part is loyalty. And loyalty on the end step is almost less useful because the opponent knows exactly what they have to do to get rid of your planeswalker and get rid of it. Most of the time, if they don't kill a planeswalker, it feels like the game starts to snowball anyway, regardless of where the loyalty lies. This makes it a little harder to kill for Xaxes. We'll see if that's relevant, but you don't get to activate the ability, until the next turn. So it's not like it ramped you in the ability of your planeswalker's minus. It really didn't. And that's really pretty rough. That's a rough place for an enchantment to be, particularly because the floor on this card becomes really bad where you play it and you have nothing to put a counter on, or the only thing you put counter on dies. So you got nothing from the card.
I think obviously decks that are going to want this card are like Super Friend decks where you have a lot of planeswalkers that spit out tokens. Good examples would be like the Elspeth that we had in Theros Beyond Death. I mean, we have the Wandering Emperor, so maybe we could see some kind of a deck like that showing up.
That's awkward too, because do you want to play the Wandering Emperor on your turn to get the counter, or do you do it on their turn?
Yeah, exactly.
That's very awkward.
An interesting choice. So you might not see any benefit from this card until turn 5, which is kind of interesting. I do kind of like the idea, like you play this on 3, and then on 4, you flash in the Emperor, make a creature, right? And then... But I guess it's still right. It's the end step. So at the end of your next turn, you could potentially have like a 4/4 or whatever. So yeah, you're right. It's actually not. It's not that great. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. It's going to have to be a certain meta for this card to be good and a certain deck style to be good. However, I mean, there are a lot of token decks running around. I mean, Wedding Announcement is a heavily played card, and so maybe like chuck a couple of these in your Wedding Announcement. Storm the Festival deck. Oh, baby. Let's go. now we're edging into Arjuna territory.
Yeah, that does sound just about right for you. I think just play Wedding Announcement and you'll be fine. It's a little easier to cast and a lot more value.
This is what it is, CGB.
Plus Wedding Announcement.
So we played this.
Chariot.
We played Wedding Announcement. Yeah, we played Chariot. We play the cat token maker. What's that card called? From Zendikar.
You're going to play Felidar
Retreat. Yeah, Felidar Retreat. Okay. And then we also play the Wandering Emperor. And then we play Ren and 7 and then Storm the Festival. It's a deck made in heaven.
Yeah, made somewhere.
All right. So that's our look at New Capenna. We did manage to stretch that out into 45 minutes of content. Well done, CGB.
Thank you. You did awesome too. I'm going to give you most of the credit.
Okay. All right. So before we go out here, let's just check in on the standard metagame. You probably haven't played much standard this past week, CGB.
I haven't played any. I think I just ground ladder a little bit to secure top 1200, and I was probably playing a really bad blue-white pile. But I did, just to kind of welcome myself back to the fold, I made a video of what I would play on ladder. It was a 50-second video designed for YouTube Shorts, but not formatted properly, so it's not in YouTube Shorts.
Got it.
Good work.
Got it.
I don't know. I'm a boomer. What can I say? I don't get this vertical formatting. But I said that if I were going to start ladder today, which I basically am, I would play Runes, Black-White Tokens, or Jeskai Hinata Opus. Like, those are the three things I think I would want to play. And I'm curious, how do you feel about my list of what I feel is like the top tier for best of one grinding?
Well, the cynical part of me says shocker. I mean, but no, I mean, I totally agree. I think that those are definitely three of the best decks in the metagame at the moment. I actually did a stream a couple of nights ago in preparation for this podcast and ended up not quite rage quitting, but basically just very, very frustrated at a format that I feel is fairly impenetrable to kind of off-meta decks.
Okay. So I want you to know that on my stream, I've received a few messages, people worried about you. I guess you were very sad. A lot of the sad Pepe Frog emotes were used to express it. So go off, King. Let us know what you might, if you have something to get off your chest. Let's go.
All right, CGB. The last time I was this disappointed in a standard format, if you can believe it, actually guess. Of all the horrible standard formats you've seen me suffer through, what was the one where I was the most over it?
Ooh, that is tough.
That's a tough one, right?
Actually,
tough one.
Yeah, because since we've been together, there's been some hard times.
There's been some stinkers.
I feel like the lowest we were on a standard was shortly after Strixhaven came out, right before they made standard 2022, because we were both like just like
super over.
We were contemplating our future of historic brawl content.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm gonna say. It was that, adventure Throne of Eldraine meta around Strixhaven release, when Strixhaven just did flat nothing to the format.
That's a really good guess, but it was actually the Omnath. It was the Omnath times.
That's fair.
Do you remember after they banned Oro and Omnath was still around?
I'll never forget. It was something.
It was something. So yeah, that was when I was like a limited only gamer, because Omnath was messing up historic as well. And we couldn't really brawl reliably at that point. So, yeah. And here's why. Okay. I've lived through some horrible standards, but I was always able to like find off meta decks that were fun and that did enough that, I felt like, I could play this to Mythic, I could get it done. And maybe it's not the optimal list if I wanted to like win the Pro Tour next week or whatever, but I can roll with this. Right. I mean, classic example, like I played my Sultai Storm the Festival to like a 70% win rate.
You heard it here. Storm the Festival is broken. CGB was right.
There you go. I mean, I got to shine your shoes for some of it, right?
That's what I just heard.
So I played that list in the height of Is It Turns, CGB. In the height of Mono White's domination on the ladder, I played that list to a 70% win rate. And I was proud of that. I'm not doing that here. Like, it's not happening. This format it's one of the grindiest and most frustrating formats I've ever played in my life. And I think part of the reason I'm so tired of it is that, all right, let's start with these Jeskai decks, right? Like, is it /Jeskai decks? Dude, okay, this isn't even Jeskai, but why are people still taking extra turns with Goldspan Dragon? I'm so over it.
I know, man. I know.
Dude, Alchemist Gambit, come on.
I know. Galvanic Iteration, Alchemist Gambit. I had so many people tell me when they revealed Alchemist Gambit that it was no big deal because of Alrund's Epiphany, and it was so much worse. And I'm like, but why? Because if they just don't print it and print a red rare that does anything else, cleave, gain control of like 2 creatures your opponent controls instead of active treasoning 1. Fine card. Let's do that. No, they had to make another one that takes another turn. And it's like, okay, we can now ban Alrund's Epiphany, and this is still a thing that happens. Like, people are not safe. And why would they do that? Why print redundancy in the worst possible mechanic?
That's what I'm saying. That card, and here's the thing, like that card in particular is destined to be a feels bad because either they cast it for full retail because they have a billion treasure and a gold spend dragon or whatever, and you feel bad, or they cast it for 3 because you're gonna die next turn. It's either way, it sucks. So, I mean, this is one of my problems, right? Is that the Hinata deck is basically just like another deck that I hate with like a bow tie, right?
Yeah. They splashed white. Wow.
Yeah. Yes. You know, like 2 new cards or whatever. So I hate that whole branch of the meta. I'm sick of it. All right, let's talk about Orzhov. Orzhov's fine. Orzhov's been around forever. I think, you know, it's probably because I played the hell out of Standard 2022. But by the time like the Standard rotation came around, I was already sick of these Orzhov Blood Money decks, dude. And they're good. They're great. They're strong decks. Fine, whatever, you know. But it's just like to beat one of those decks playing anything that isn't trying to go under it is just so grindy. I mean, it's like Turtle Shigeki levels of grindy, right?
Yeah, your win con can't be a permanent. It just can't be because Rite of Oblivion and Vanishing Verse, it's just like whatever you have, it's exiled, it's gone. You can't recur it. Like, it's just, you can't win with permanents if you're going to play against that deck in a game longer than 6 or 7 turns. So that really puts a limit on cards that could otherwise be interesting. I'm thinking of really silly things like Faithbound Judge, you know, like curse the opponent, win in 3 turns. Sounds cool in a different format. Here, anything that's a permanent is exiled, always, because they always have another Rite of Oblivion in the graveyard or something. It's kind of
exactly. Lame. So, and let's say that you want to play like, I don't know, a control deck, which is like something that you like to do, right? You've got to be ready for like the freaking grind Olympics, right? You've got to be ready to draw like 50 cards extra over the course of the game to actually get anywhere, right?
You have to solve every permanent type. Farewell doesn't do it because you die to the planeswalkers. Negate doesn't do it because they'll attack you down with creatures. Like the way that you have to thread the needle with something like blue-white control is basically undoable. Like the only reason I play blue-white control is because I'm a sucker for punishment and I like to make content every day. But there's honestly not a good reason to play a blue deck that isn't also red. Because Goldspan Dragon has dominated the control mirror since the moment it was printed. No other card just produces this mana advantage like freaking Goldspan Dragon does, even when they deal with it. So you shouldn't play blue without red if you're serious about your ladder position, which means you shouldn't it just pushes out other control decks completely. And then if those other control decks are like just load up on counter spells or something to like deal with Goldspan Dragon, black white just outgrinds them. It's nasty.
Absolutely. Nasty. So This brings me to the major bone that I have to pick with the format, which is just like, okay, this Naya Runes deck.
Oh God,
it was fun for like 15 minutes, right? It was fun for 15 minutes, and now it's the new dude. It's the new like snow-covered plains go, right?
We didn't talk about this deck.
No,
we haven't. You and I haven't sat down and talked about it. We were talking at the end of the last podcast where we talked about the week 1 meta. We were saying like green white could have a place.
Yeah.
If you can hear me right now, you out there in the somewhere, if you hear the sound of my voice, put your green white enchantment deck in the dumpster. It's Naya. Like this runes deck is so much better. I still play against green white enchantments every day, and I feel a little responsible myself because that's the first build I made. The Naya version adding the element of haste is so huge. It's
dude.
a complete game changer. And Showdown is no slouch either. Showdown is insane with the low curve that you have and how many cards you see. Oh my God, this deck absolutely destroys anything that tries to go toe to toe with it creature wise, unless they have pinpoint removal in the right spot, because it'll build a lifelinking, trampling, vigilante thing that is better than what you have easily, like without even trying. But against control, you wrath them, you remove their stuff, you counter a thing. They just reload every time, and they hit you again with haste. If they're doing it right, they're always like sleeving up another red rune in their back pocket or a Showdown of the Scalds to completely rebuild them. And they're just going to, boom, left hook. Every time you hit them with the right and clean the board, left hook coming at you, hits you again. It feels helpless, Arjuna.
It's so brutal. It's, you know what it reminds me of, dude? This is like the Teema adventure deck all over again. It's one of those decks where you just like nothing, it feels like nothing you do can really answer it.
Because they always have more cards than you, and they always rebuild stronger. I think it's faster though than the Teema deck was.
No, you're right. It's like a Teema adventure deck with a plausible beatdown plan and lifelink. All of the lifelink, bro. They have 4 lifelinking creatures and 4 lifelinking runes, which means they pretty much always have lifelink online. They also run 4 trampling creatures and 4 trampling runes, which means they pretty much always have trample online as well. And I tell you what, like haste, lifelink, and trample, that is a holy trifecta for not losing games of Magic.
4 copies of Showdown of the Scalds, 4 copies of Commune with Spirits. 4 copies of Runeforged Champion. They always have the ability they need when they need it. Like the consistency of this thing is kind of ridiculous. Yeah, it's legitimately silly how often they can do exactly what they want to do, because you find yourself in these spots where like I wrath the board or I use a removal spell on the one big thing. As long as they don't have X, I'm okay. They always have X.
They always have X.
And not in the traditional, like, arena is rigged sense. Like, they dig for it. They always have it up their sleeve because they see so much of their deck every game, so much more than you do. I mean, I'm playing a, like, control deck with a ton of card draw, and they are usually, like, beating me with, like, 20 cards left in their library, and I've still got, like, 40. It's insulting, man. It hurts my soul.
Yeah. And, I think one of the most devastating play patterns of the deck, which, again, reminds me a lot of Teamer Adventure, is, like, when they have a champion out and they have a Jeskai Naturalist out, and then they slam the Showdown of the Scalds, and they just get to play all of their spells for free. It's
can we take a minute to appreciate that Runeforged Champion isn't a typical cost reduction where things cost 1 less? No, it lets you pay a generic one instead of cost. It's a replacement. So when you combine Runeforged Champion with the Jeskai Naturalist, your runes cost
0.
Nothing. And they draw a card. Does that sound busted? Yes. Why, in fact, that is, in fact, busted. Because if they draw like 5 or 6 runes in a row, their creatures just go, and their board just goes whoosh, because they have all these things that trigger. Like they've got the spirit that gives a +1/+1, right? For every enchantment that hits the battlefield. And they've got the Showdown of the Scalds, chapters 2 and 3. And the first time I figured out it worked that way, I was mid-video, and I was like,
oh God.
Yeah, this is what is missing. This is why green-white enchantments is not a deck. It is an IQ test that shows you didn't keep up with videos for the last week. That's what it is. You took a vacation, you went on a spring break or something, and you didn't know what was going on. Green white is dead. Like the Naya thing is beyond worth it. It's the way.
Yeah. And I mean, people have been trying to build busted Runeforged Champion decks ever since the card came out. I remember there was like a Goldspan Dragon deck, which was kind of doing the same thing. So the potential was always there. But I mean, this is like the perfect storm of cards that make that card really good. The deck has so much redundancy. Like you were just saying, it has multiple cards that do the same thing that are all really, really, really good. And so it's not that the deck's not beatable. It's just that sitting down in this chair right here and trying to build a deck which isn't one of those 3 decks, which has game against all of those decks, is a freaking nightmare. It feels like an actual nightmare. And dude, I'll tell you what, man, Simic ain't getting any better over here.
Strap in for it, man, because I've still got to do a deck a day for another month or so, and it's
I don't know how you do it. and here's the other thing.
I'm scared.
Here's the other thing too, is like best of 3 is one thing, right? But like best of 1 just makes these decks look so good. Oh my God. Like just whatever the magic algorithm source, it just makes these Naya Runes deck like so consistent and perfect and beautiful. And it's so like playing best of 1 is just purgatorial at the moment, in my opinion.
Well, follow me on YouTube, hit subscribe. We'll see what we can do about it. See what we can do. I'm still over here trying to be like, I wonder if I can build an interesting deck with every card in the invoke cycle. And yeah, I'm sure that's gonna go really well.
Oh baby. You gotta get those freaking triomes, man. So I will say that the only decks that I've messed around with that are not those decks that have felt like they have some kind of a future are like these Turtle Shigeki decks. Because the amount of grind and go over the top E-ness and like power that you need to really keep up with the rest of these decks is like insane. And so like my typical like I cast Storm the Festival, put 10 mana worth of permanents in play on turn 5 pattern is not enough. It's just not enough, right? That's kind of how I was aiming to go over the top in the past. But my opponent has like a 12/12 lifelink haste trampler. Like it's not good enough. So
yeah.
So I have, for me, my salvation has been like trying to come up with, like you had that really cool, what was it, Brilliant Restoration deck that was like your go over the top plan.
Yeah.
I've been messing around some more with these like Spirit Sisters saga decks that also do the Turtle Shigeki thing. I've seen Chris Patello like messing around with, I think it was like a Sultai list perhaps.
Yeah. I saw his list online. Great show last week, by the way. Forgot to say anything, but was really excited to get to listen to that out in California.
Chris he's a legend for sure. It was really great to have him on the show. So, I think that's like, that's one of the ways that you're going to be able to hopefully get enough grind and enough just like raw cardboard to just fight your way through all these other decks in the format. But this is why I'm feeling so depressed, because I feel like I have gazed into the future and I'm not seeing it. You know what I mean? Like there's probably at least one really sweet deck in there somewhere that I've missed and all the other content creators have managed to miss at the moment. But just like, it's a daunting metagame is frankly how I'm going to put it. I just think like the amount of problems you have to solve, especially if you want to play any kind of a reactive deck, is just astronomical.
I was having a very interesting time solving like for the black-white and the Izzet meta, because I was actually creating a bunch of aggro decks that were doing okay. Like Vampires with Soul Ripper was kind of a really good deck, I thought. Various burn decks that impressed me, including the red Invoke card in burn was very, very fun. And then like none of it can beat runes. Just
not even close.
Not even. Yeah, they do a lifelinky thingy majig. I think I played like a Gruul. Like I played Jaspera Sentinel Magda Goldspan Dragon on turn 3 against that deck and got handled by the Runeforge champion. I mean, what? What?
That's what I'm saying. I've been playing like turn 3 Cat Chariot on the play, and it's like a pea shooter. I don't like, it's not even remotely good enough.
Yeah. They're just laughing at us for ramping into Chariot and Goldspan. I mean, we said Caldheim was still the backbone of this format. Are the runes are from Caldheim, oddly. And so is Showdown, right? But yeah, I mean, these enchantment synergies are kind of insane.
I think you raise a really good point. So you know how we had like these successive waves of bans in the Eldraine format? And it was kind of like we had these waves of remembering how good Eldraine was. So we were like, all of a sudden, like, oh, okay, well, now that Oko's gone, like this Embercleave card's really good. Or like, oh, okay, now like we've got this Great Henge card. Wow, that's really good. And it was just like we kept discovering how good that set was. And I think the same thing's happening for Caldheim, right?
Yeah, I remember ban things until Doom Foretold is a problem.
Exactly right. Exactly. So now, you know, we're like, all right, we already know Cat Chariot's good. We already know Goldspan is good, you know, but like we've really gotten to see exactly like runes. It's something that always took second fiddle, basically, is really coming to the forefront. And, you know, it turns out that Caldheim is just a really, really, really busted Magic set.
It really is. Are you looking for? I'm trying to speculate. Do you think we're going to get a standard 2023? Do you think like? So this is something I was looking at over my trip, because why not? You're on a plane. We have a weird thing that's happened with the release schedule. We had 5 sets last year. It looks like they used that opportunity to just rotate the set release schedule into quarters. Because what they used to do is we'd have over the summer like something like a core set, or D&D in this case. And then in September, October, we get the rotation in the fall set. And then last year they added the winter set, which was usually our longest time without a set. This year, they're back to 4 sets, but they have a 4th quarter set, which is the Brothers' War. And the fall set rotation is with Dominaria United. That's the September fall set. That means that Streets of New Capenna comes out at the end of April, and we don't get a summer set. We get nothing until September and rotation, which means Streets of New Capenna is the last bit of the last stand of Caldheim and company and Zendikar Rising and Strixhaven in Standard and at Forgotten Realms, I think. So we might get a standard 2023 format launching in like June, July. That is only both Innistrاد's Neon Dynasty and Streets of New Capenna. Doesn't that format sound really interesting?
That does sound really interesting. Wow. Yep. That's that's going to be something.
It's going to be a long summer if we don't get that format. I can promise you that. It's going to be a long summer without a release.
No, you're right. Yeah, I'm looking at it here. So yeah, watsonstandard.com, great website to go to, by the way. So yeah, legal until Q3 of 2022. Zendikar Rising, Caldheim, Strixhaven, and D&D. All of those will be gone.
So D&D was really short. Like that was a short existence for that set. Wow.
Yep. No, totally. So, wow. Things are going to look very different. I mean, honestly, like with Caldheim being basically the next Eldraine, I am super excited to see that set leave and just open up whole new swaths of the meta. One of the things that I predict with that is I think that you might start to see a lot more like vampires and zombies and stuff in the metagame once that happens, because they put a fair amount of juice into those tribes and they really haven't showed up much. I even wonder whether we won't start to see like some decayed synergies and whatnot show up, you know, just because like, man, it's going to be kind of slim pickings to fill out some of these archetypes in the meantime.
Buffing Venture really didn't age well. It's going to be out. It's just going to be gone.
It's just going to be gone, dude.
What the hell are they doing?
Did you see they have a Venture commander that they're printing? Yes. It's like a zombie Venture commander, dude. They just can't let it go. They just can't let it be the dumpster fire failure, you know? That it just needs to get swept under the rug, dude. Someone needs to do it.
Somebody's got to be the Undertaker.
That's what I'm saying,
Bury
man.
it. Bury it.
Exile that. So, you make a really good point. It sounds like a cool format. I hope it's a good format. Honestly, I think it'll be propped up a lot by Kamigawa and Streets of New Capenna, because my personal opinion is that both of the Innistrad sets were kind of meh, like both in terms of power level and like variety of decks that they support. I think are just not really there.
I want to know.
I could be missing something.
I really want to know how rotation is going to hit Alchemy. Right? Because they introduced like 60 some cards at Alchemy launch, but clearly a bunch of those are tied to like Zendikar and like some weird stuff like that. And I don't think they're going to split it up. So I assume they're not going to rotate those cards, but it's going to be weird. It's going to be
That is actually a really good point. I wonder if they'll wait till the next rotation to get those out.
Probably. And then I also hope when they rotate cards like Luminarch Aspirant, they just rebuff it for the sake of historic.
Yeah, that would make sense. For sure. I don't know, man. Can we take a moment to just talk about like the failure that has been Alchemy so far?
Yeah,
we believed, and we really did. On. You just keep me hanging on.
I think I said this on the show. I know I said it on stream. That I really hope they bring in people from other games who are familiar with rebalancing, because I became very worried at the very first rebalance when it was like, we're going to make Venture a thing. And then now the second rebalance, they're like, zombies. And it's like, in my opinion, this is not the way. Like this does not get anybody excited to play these sets. This doesn't do it. Trying to make bad decks a little less bad isn't what you were hoping for in a fluid digital format. What you're hoping for is meaningful change that makes cards exciting. And I just feel like they failed. They keep buffing these like draft cards, man. And it kills me. I just feel like somebody is checking like the safest possible box when they should be doing something interesting instead.
Well, you're right. And I think what it highlights is that rather than paying deep attention to the metagame, they're just kind of like picking a theme and buffing it and hoping that it'll get there, right? And so I think what we were all hoping for, especially like us content creators or like the spiky kind of tournament grinders, were hoping that they would take those cards that were 90% of the way there, right? Or like there's like maybe that rando combo deck that's like almost good enough, but not quite. And you just like buff like the key card in that deck. And all of a sudden you have a deck, right? Or you have a workable archetype. And that's what we were all hoping for. Instead of all of this like nonsense, like making us take another look at cards that we'd already just like sent off to the exile zone because we knew they'd never be playable.
Yeah, it feels like they're wasting our time. Like when I read the article, I'm a little like why?
It's like, seriously?
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. And I mean, even though it has given us some cool stuff, like, for example, being able to play Fires again in Historic is really sweet, right? And, some of these Fires decks have actually looked kind of interesting. Like maybe they could be like tier 3 or something like that. Maybe it'll show up and actually be like a player in some really good deck. So it's not that nothing good has come from that. Or like, I've seen people boarding into like Teferi 4 again in Historic. So that card's actually being some kind of a player in the metagame. So I think that like some really good stuff can come from it. But like that's all in Historic. And like for the flagship format of the Alchemy thing, which is Alchemy, they're just not doing that at all. So, I don't know, man. Like I really gave them a chance with Alchemy. I was like, no, you know what? I think Wizards they've known that they've screwed up a lot and they're really going to try to do the right thing with this. And they have made me look so bad. And it's like, nope, they're just trying to milk you for wild cards and they're just trying to make a bunch of shitty stuff better. And it's kind of like the worst version of what this format could be.
We have supposedly on the 24th or somewhere around there, we're going to get the first we're going to get the Neon Dynasty expansion for Alchemy. And that's going to be the first we've seen since the launch of the format, which launched with like 60 new cards. It's going to be like 30 cards. It's going to be Kamigawa themed. They could be bangers. They could be better at releasing cards than buffing them. I would say in general that's been true. I think the cards they released were way better and more interesting than any adjustments they've made to the cards.
Absolutely.
So, but I mean, I'm like, I think the whole community is arms crossed, grumpy, frowny face, like, you better bring it.
Carmela Soprano over here.
They should also probably all be uncommons, with maybe a couple of rares.
I know. I was like, so they're going to release their like 12 rares, 8 mythics, and 10 uncommons, like booster set here.
It's not going to do it.
It's like, come on, man.
Nope.
I know.
Honestly, they should give everybody this expansion.
I agree. Or at least like give us all like 15 packs, give us all 20 packs. Give us something to be excited about.
The packs are a mistake too. It's confusing honestly, and weird, and you can't get them. Like this was something I brought up on day one when they told us about the format in the call I can't talk about, but I did bring up like what are the rewards going to be? Are these going to be rewards for your dailies? Are they going to be rewards for mastery? Are they going to be rewards for mythic? The answer at the time I can't go into too much of that, but the answer has clearly been no. It's none of that. Yeah. It's like you can only whale up and get these in the store, and it's confusing. It's hard to understand what you're buying if you're a new player. Like they shouldn't be packs. They should have they shouldn't have another model. They should just have events that you can play to get them. I don't know. Something like that. It needs a whole makeover from the economy side. The economy side is terrible. It's bad.
It just makes me sad because like it has so much potential, and a lot of content creators went hard on it because they were trusting, right? They were just trusting like Wizards has got my back on this, and it's just a bummer because like frankly I get tired of being cynical. Yeah. Like sometimes I want to be hopeful because I'm just tired of being cynical, and I'm tired of like being negative. Like I don't want to really bring that attitude into my content if I can help it, right? And so it feels so bad to like get my hopes up and be like, no, I'm really going to trust them this time. And then nope, here we are again, So anyway, this is me complaining at this point, but I just really wish that they would get their digital act together a little bit more. And clearly someone's making the decisions. And so I just wish that the decision making would get a little bit more in line with what players actually want.
I sincerely find the format more fun. And I think that all the concept around it, if you ignore like the repercussion effects of the economy and historic, it's great if you can like stay true to that. So just if they figured that out, it would be really great. Let people play it for free to cheap, something like lair, and they'll be more addicted to it than any other format, I think, because it's actually really good and it changes the way that things work. And it's a very different format from standard, which is already kind of a painful format to play for reasons that we already discussed. They might do something. I think we're all at a point where we don't believe that anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like you only have so long of a window when you introduce something new to get adoption, right?
Yeah.
And, Apple knows this, Google knows this. And, you look at this long list of like shelved projects from various companies, and it's all because like they had a year, you have a year to make this thing catch on. And if it doesn't catch on, it is gone.
MTG Legends, anyone?
Oh God. You know what? I was feeling nostalgic for that game the other day.
Me too.
And it made me really sad. I was like, I want to play the video game that was supposed to be right now, And what a missed opportunity. And again, it's one of those things where I'm like, Wizards, could you just do it with triple the budget? Hire the right people, farm it out to the right studio, do whatever you need to do. It's going to be a success. It's going to be profitable. People are going to love it. You have millions of loyal fans who want to buy in. Could you just do it good this time? That's how I feel about that.
I agree.
So, all right. Well, I think we covered enough ground this week for the Arena Craft podcast. Thanks for sticking with us, crafties. It's going to be an interesting month. This next month is going to be an interesting time. We're going to do our best to get through it. I'm going to be following CGB's channel closely for good deck ideas that might be able to, go toe to toe in the meta and at least have some kind of redeeming fun in them.
It's going to be great. Just tell it like it is, man. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be mind-blowing. You're going to want to hear all about it right here on Arena Craft Podcast next week. Lock it in, baby.
All right. And with that, let's call it a wrap. You can find this show on CovertGoBlue's YouTube channel. You can listen to us on Spotify. You can take us on the road with you with your favorite podcast app of choice. You can catch CovertGoBlue's almost daily and sometimes impromptu streams on twitch.tv. You can catch my usually around the weekend streams also on twitch.tv. I want to thank all of our patrons. You guys are awesome. I wanted to let you know that for our top tier patrons, I have a little something in the works. So this is an exciting little project, which I'm not even going to tell you about, CovertGoBlue. You'll be part of the rollout. So nice. You have that.
It's a date with me, CGB. I'm required to be in such and such location at such and such an hour. Congratulations.
You'll get your tickets in the mail soon, CovertGoBlue. Oh, I'd love to see the look on your face, man. I should have done it just for that alone. Anyway. All right. That's Arjuna out.
Later, crafties.